Hello everyone. So today we are going to discuss the chapter 4 of my economics, that is international trade. So this unit consists of 5 sub-units. Sir, the chapter 4 international trade has 5 sub-units. So today we are going to see unit 1, that is theory of international trade. So whenever we speak about international trade, sir, we always and always think about exports and imports. Sir, whenever we speak in international terms, sir, it is a broader term. So I can also call this as international economics. International economics. Superb. Now in this unit we are going to discuss about the theories of international trade. Sir, first let us discuss what do you mean by international trade. Sir, my international trade is nothing but exchange of goods and services. Exchange of goods and services. Point number one. So point number two, not only just goods and services, it is also exchange of resources. Exchange of resources. Sir, two important points to be remembered in the definition of international trade or theory of international trade. Sir, it is an exchange of goods and services. Not only just goods and services, it is an exchange of resources. Sir, in order to conduct any international trade, don't you think money is involved? Sir, this money is not only a domestic currency, even a foreign nation's currency is involved. Sir, Arthar, multiple currency is also involved. Now, let me repeat it once again. Sir, international trade is nothing but exchange of goods and services. Not only just goods and services, sir, it is also an exchange of resources. So, two important points to remember: exchange of goods and services, exchange of resources. Sir, international trade is going to be always complicated than my domestic trade. That is even more comprehensive compared to my inter-regional trade. And there are 5 important aspects in the definition of your international trade. Sir, point number 1. Sir, multiple nations currencies are involved. Sir, point number 2. Multiple nations legal aspects are involved here. Sir, point number 3. Sir, there is a documentation process involved here. So, point number 4. Sir, shipping is involved here. Point number 5. Tariff, barriers and other restrictions are involved here. Sir, so 5 important elements along with your definition of international trade. Sir, multiple nations currency is involved. Multiple nations legal regulations are involved. Sir, documentation process is involved. Shipment is involved. Sir, tariffs, barriers and other restrictions are going to be involved here. So this was the meaning of your theory of international trade. Now there are 5 important theories. How many theories? So in this unit 1 we are going to discuss about the 5 important theory. Now straight away before jumping into the theoretical concept, first let me give you one example. Based on that example you can understand what exactly is this theories of international trade. Okay, assuming now sir, India, Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, would like to export more and more of a commodity and not to import at all. Let me repeat it once again. Sir, assuming myself, I am the Prime Minister of a nation, wherein I always think that I should only export. I should only export. I am not at all encouraging an import. So, if we are only concentrating on export and we are not at all giving any permissions for an import, sir, this is your very first theory. Sir, this is called as mercantile theory. Mercantile theory. Sir, we are only and only concentrating on exports, and we also call this mercantile theory as a zero sum game. As a dash game, zero sum game. Sir, what is this zero sum game? Wherein only one country is going to gain and another country is going to lose. But remember, the very main objective of every international trade is mutually beneficial. Mutually beneficial. But now, sir, in my mercantile theory, there is no concept of mutually beneficial, wherein only one nation is going to gain every single time, another nation is only losing the other single time. So, there is no mutual gaining here. It is only one single nation is going to gain. So, remember, mercantile theory is also called as a zero sum game, wherein a nation is going to give liberalizations or only prominence in order to export goods and services. They are not concentrated much on importing goods and services. Sir, best example, USA is always trying to do this mercantile view. Sir, China is doing, let me say, trying to have this mercantile view. Sir, every nation for this matter, they will always try to have this mercantile view in their mind, wherein I need to only export, I should not import. Sir, what is the benefit if they're only exporting without importing? Sir, don't you think we receive foreign currencies whenever we export? Sir, I'm sending my goods and services to other nation. They are going to pay me. And don't you think my foreign exchange reserves are going to increase? Now, let me go back to our olden days. Sir, during those time, whenever we do this international trade, we used to earn a precious metals, gold or a silver. We used to call this gold or a silver, this precious metals as specie. Sir, we need to earn specie whenever we are doing more of exports. That was the very main intention of a mercantile view. So, the very first theory of my international trade is a mercantile view. Okay, sir. But sir, just now you said it has to be mutually beneficial. Sir, international trade has to be mutually beneficial. But what is mercantile theory is taking? Sir, it is a zero sum game. Only one nation is gaining, another nation is losing every single time. So, we have a second important theory that is called absolute advantage theory. What is the second important theory? Absolute advantage theory. Sir, what is this absolute advantage theory? Now, remember, this absolute advantage theory was developed by Adam Smith. Who developed it? Adam Smith. Sir, wherein he stated this is not a zero-sum game. Sir, mercantile view was a zero-sum game, but absolute advantage theory is not a zero-sum game wherein both the nations involving in international trade is going to gain. Sir, how? Assuming, let me take an example. Sir, India and USA. Now, sir, India is a leading producer of rice, assuming in my example. Now, sir, USA is a leading producer in wheat. Now, sir, India, in order to produce one single ton of rice, assuming it takes 2 labor hours, Sir, India, in order to produce wheat, it takes 10 labor hours. Let me say it once again. India, in order to produce one single ton of rice, it takes 2 labor hours. In order to produce one single ton of wheat, it takes 10 labor hours. Now, let me come to USA. Sir, USA takes 10 labor hours in order to produce rice. 10 labor hours in order to produce rice. And sir, 3 labor hours in order to produce wheat. Now, let us put it down so that it becomes a clear picture to you. Now we are speaking in terms of a labor hours. Sir, India, USA. The two nations are there. Sir, rice, wheat. What did I say? Sir, India needs 2 labor hours in order to produce one single ton of rice. USA needs 10 labor hours. Sir, India needs 10 labor hours to produce wheat. Sir, USA needs just 3 labor hours to produce wheat. Now, if you observe, which nation is taking less labor hours in order to produce rice? Sir, don't you think it is India? Sir, it is only taking 2 labor hours. Sir, which nation is taking a less number of labor hours in production of wheat? Sir, don't you think it is USA? Sir, it is nothing but India is having absolute advantage in production of rice. Sir, USA is having absolute advantage in production of wheat. So, what is the final conclusion? Sir, India should produce rice and import wheat and export rice. Sir, in whichever commodity we have an absolute advantage comparing to the other nation. Sir, now we are comparing with India and USA. Now, sir, India is taking only 2 labor hours, but USA is taking 10 labor hours. So, lower will be the better in terms of labor hours required. So, sir, India should produce more of rice and export rice. So, USA should produce more of wheat and export wheat. Sir, this is what my absolute advantage theory will speak about. Sir, wherein a nation, when it has an advantage in the production of any commodity or any good or a services, compare it to any other nation, comparing it to any other nation, Sir, we need to specialize or we need to produce the goods and services in which we have an absolute advantage. We have absolute advantage. Sir, if I speak about the wheat production, don't you think India is having an absolute disadvantage? Yes, sir. Because it is taking 10 labor hours, sir. Compared to USA, it hardly takes 3 labor hours. So, USA is having an absolute advantage in the production of wheat. India is having an absolute advantage in production of rice. Hence, India should produce more and more of rice and export rice and import wheat. USA should produce more and more of wheat and export wheat and import rice, wherein mutually beneficial trade is possible. Sir, one nation is also gaining, other nation is also gaining. It is not a zero-sum game. Sir, what do you mean by zero-sum game? Only one nation is going to gain, other nation is going to lose. But here in absolute advantage theory, we are taking labor as the important factor of production. That's as an important factor of production. Labor as an important factor of production. And boss, by comparing the labor hours required in order to produce a commodity, we are deciding which commodity to be produced and exported, which commodity should not be produced and it should only be imported. So this is an absolute advantage theory which was propounded by Adam Smith. Now, first theory was mercantile view. Only export is given more importance, import is never given an importance. Absolute advantage theory based on advantage in which type of a product we have in terms of production with a labor as a factor of production, we will decide. Now, let me come to the third one. The third one speaks about comparative advantage theory. So, what is the third theory? Comparative advantage theory. Okay, let me continue the same example. Boss, assuming now India itself is specialized in production of both, sir, that is rice production as well as wheat production. Sir, how it is possible? Possible, boss. Now, sir, what did I say? Which nation has an advantage in less number of labor hours? I need to choose that particular commodity in order to produce it. Now, there might be a situation wherein a single nation can be efficient in production of both the commodity. Now, have a look here. Now, let me continue the same example. Sir, USA, India. Sir, production of rice and production of wheat. Now, assuming, sir, we are calculating in terms of labor hours. What we are calculating in terms of labor hours? Now, sir, USA needs 10 labor hours to produce rice. USA needs 20 labor hours to produce wheat. 20 labor hours to produce wheat. Now, sir, India needs 2 labor hours to produce rice and 5 labor hours to produce wheat. Now, if I observe it, don't you think India is having an absolute advantage in production of rice as well as wheat? Now, sir, if I compare the same with absolute advantage theory, only India can produce both the commodity, wherein, sir, mutually benefiting trade will not be possible in this particular circumstances. But still, we can have a mutually benefiting trade. Sir, how? We will compare the productivity. Now, let us take a ratio of it. Artharth, have a look here. So, can I say the production of rice between USA and India, sir, it is 5:1. That is, India needs one single labor hour. At the same time, USA needs 5 labor hours. Sir, that is in the production of rice. Now, let me take a same ratio in the production of wheat. Sir, the ratio will be 4:1. Sir, that is, India needs 1 labor hours, wherein USA needs 4 labor hours. Remember, in order to compare with this, we will always take out a ratio. Whichever product has a higher ratio, whichever product has a dashed ratio, higher ratio, we are going to select it. Sir, out of these two, rice and wheat, for India, which ratio is more? Sir, 5:1. Sir, that is, India will produce rice. Sir, why are we leaving out? Sir, why are we just sacrificing this wheat production for a USA? Sir, now comparing to rice and wheat production, India is more effective and more efficient in the production of rice compared to wheat. Acceptable, boss? Yes, sir. Sir, still getting confused, sir. How, sir? Okay, leave about it. Sir, if it is confusing you. Now, we need to take opportunity cost. We need to take opportunity cost. Sir, economist by name David Ricardo. Economist by name David Ricardo has propounded a concept of opportunity cost. A concept of opportunity cost. Now, we will consider this opportunity cost element and then I will explain you how exactly this is going to work. Now, sir, this opportunity cost element. Now, I will say the opportunity cost is nothing but we are sacrificing for production of a commodity A. Now, let me assume rice as a commodity A and wheat as a commodity B for your example. Now, sir, in order to produce A, that is rice, I am sacrificing wheat. Now, what is that sacrificing ratio? First, I need to identify that sacrificing ratio. Sir, have a look here. Was opportunity cost of rice will be rice divided by wheat. Sir, that is nothing but selected commodity divided by sacrificed commodity or other commodity. Sir, now if I am calculating this opportunity cost, and remember, opportunity cost is always and always calculated within the nation wise. It is not calculated internation wise. It is only calculated within the nation. That is comparison of rice and wheat only for USA. Comparison of rice and wheat only for India. So we only compare it within the nation. Now, sir, the opportunity cost for a USA. Now, sir, in terms of rice production, can I say, sir, in order to produce rice, I need 10 labor hours. Sir, in order to produce wheat, I need 20 labor hours. Sir, 10 divided by 20, don't you think it is 0.5? Sir, 0.5. Now, let me come in the production of wheat. Sir, wheat divided by rice. Sir, it is nothing but 20 divided by 10. Sir, don't you think the opportunity cost is 2? Now, sir, the opportunity cost of rice was 0.5. Sir, the opportunity cost of wheat is 2. Now, let us calculate the opportunity cost for India. Sir, now, sir, opportunity cost for which nation? India. Now, sir, rice, if I am taking for rice, what is an opportunity cost? Wheat. So it will be rice divided by wheat. Sir, opportunity cost of rice in terms of India's productivity is 2 labor hours. In terms of wheat, it is 5 labor hours. So 2 divided by 5, it is 0.4. Acceptable? Yes, sir. Superb. Now, sir, let me take in terms of wheat. Sir, opportunity cost, this is for rice. Sir, this is for wheat. Opportunity cost. Now, sir, it is 5 divided by 2. Sir, 5 divided by 2 will be 2.5. Acceptable. So, if I am taking this opportunity cost element here, sir, the opportunity cost for rice productivity will be 0.4. Sir, the opportunity cost of wheat productivity will be 2.5. Remember, whenever we are comparing it with opportunity cost, lower will be the better. Lower will be the better. Now, sir, in order to produce rice, we are sacrificing wheat productivity. Sir, that is by using 10 labor hours, we could have produced 0.5 units of wheat. Acceptable? Acceptable, sir. In order to produce rice, my opportunity cost of wheat is 0.4. Sir, remember, the opportunity cost will be lower the better. Opportunity cost will be lower the better. And remember, sir, in terms of productivity, higher will be the better. Sir, in terms of labor hours, lower will be the better. Sir, that is number of labor hours required to produce, lesser will always be the better for an organization. Sir, in terms of output, that is productivity, the higher will be the better for every single time. And whenever we take in terms of a ratio, higher will be the better. Sir, whenever we take in terms of opportunity cost, lower will be the better. Let me repeat it once again. Concentrate here. Sir, in terms of labor hours, sir, in terms of opportunity cost, lower will be the better. Sir, labor hours and opportunity cost, lower will be the better. Sir, in terms of ratio or in terms of output or productivity, higher will be the better. Now, calculated opportunity cost for it. Sir, in terms of opportunity cost, it says, sir, opportunity cost in the production of rice. Have a look here, 0.5 for USA, 0.4 for India. So which one has a lower? Yeah, sir, lower will be the better. That is, India can produce rice. Sir, in terms of wheat productivity, opportunity cost is 2 for USA and 2.5 for India. Sir, now USA's productivity for wheat is better. So we compare in this manner and we come out with a decision. Now, sir, India will produce rice, USA is going to produce wheat. Now I'm comparing between these two. I know that India has got an absolute advantage in production of both rice as well as wheat. But in terms of comparative advantage, sir, USA has got a comparative advantage in wheat. India has got a comparative advantage in rice productivity. Acceptable? Now, listen to this carefully. I will make it in a different way. Sir, India has got a absolute advantage higher in rice productivity. Sir, USA has got a absolute disadvantage lower in wheat productivity. Sir, in terms of disadvantage, lower will be the better. Sir, in terms of advantage, higher will be the better. Sir, I'm comparing it with absolute advantage now. Sir, whenever a nation has an absolute advantage, when we compare between two commodity, which commodity has a higher advantage? Which commodity has a higher advantage? That will be better. Sir, when we are comparing with both the commodity, which nation has got a disadvantage? Lower disadvantage will be the better. So, was now India is going to produce rice, USA is going to produce wheat. Now, mutually beneficial is possible. That is, mutual benefiting trade is possible. Sir, first one, mercantile view. Second one, absolute advantage theory developed by Adam Smith. Sir, third one, comparative advantage theory developed by David Ricardo. And boss, this opportunity cost concept was developed by Heberler. Now, boss, in terms of comparative advantage theory, we are going to compare it with both the nation's productivity and we will take out an opportunity cost element. Sir, whichever nation has got a lower opportunity cost element, that is going to be better. Sir, now according to my example, sir, India has got a lower opportunity cost in terms of rice production. USA has got a lower opportunity cost in terms of wheat production. Now, did you people understood? Now, have a look for the theoretical part. Now, sir, let's start it again. Sir, what is the meaning of this international trade? Sir, international trade, it is exchange of goods and services as well as resources between the countries, and it involves greater complexity compared to internal trade. Sir, two things to be remembered in definition: goods and services, and exchange of resources. And the first one is exchange of goods and services. And I said after the meaning, 5 important things to be remembered along with the meaning. Sir, multiple currencies are involved. Sir, multiple legal environment is involved. Sir, documentation process is involved. Sir, shipping process is involved. Sir, tariff, quotas and other barriers are involved. So these are the 5 points along with the definition we need to remember. So what is international trade? Sir, international trade is an exchange of goods and services as well as resources between the countries, and it involves greater complexity compared to international trade. Now, along with the meaning, 5 other important points to remember. Sir, point number 1, multiple currencies are involved. Point number 2, multiple legal environment is involved. Point number 3, sir, documentation processing involved. Point number 4, shipment is involved or shipping is involved. Point number 5, tariff, quotas and other barriers. That is, whenever we are importing any goods and services, obviously we levy tax on it. That is called as tariffs. Sir, unlike tariff, we also have something called as quota. Sir, this quota is invisible. Sir, tariff is going to be visible. Quotas are going to be invisible. Sir, we will explain it in further units. Now, remember, sir, international trade is more complicated than domestic trade. Acceptable? Yes, boss. Now, sir, international trade should be mutually beneficial. That is, it should not be a zero-sum game. It should not be a zero-sum game. And boss, after which we have discussed the 3 important theories of my international trade. Out of 5 theories what we have got. Now, sir, the very first one was mercantile view. The mercantile view of an international trade, wherein we are concentrating only and only on more of export. We are not at all giving an importance for an import. There is a complete restrictions on import. Now, the second one was absolute advantage theory, which was developed by Adam Smith. Sir, the next one was comparative advantage theory, which was developed by David Ricardo. And along with that, we had something called as opportunity cost, which was developed by Haberler. Now, we will see the theory part of this first 3 theories. Now, sir, the mercantile view of international trade. Sir, it is a zero-sum game. What do you mean by zero-sum game? Sir, only one country is going to give, that is lose, and only another country is going to gain. Now, boss, country should export more and more in order to earn specie. What do you mean by specie? Sir, all those precious metals like gold, silvers, etc. Sir, country should not import. Sir, we have a complete restrictions on imports. Sir, we are only and only exporting in mercantile view. Sir, that is nothing but import barriers. That is, I'm stopping from importing any goods and services. We are only concentrating more and more on exports. Now, sir, the second important theory was absolute advantage theory. Sir, what do we do in absolute advantage theory? Sir, wherein we will check which nation has got an absolute advantage in production in terms of less number of laborers utilizing to produce a goods and services. Sir, we concentrated more and more only on labor as a factor of a production, wherein it is not a zero-sum game. It is not a zero-sum game. Have a look here. Sir, absolute advantage theory was developed by Adam Smith. Sir, Adam Smith was the first person to put across the possibility that international trade is not a zero-sum game. Sir, according to Adam Smith, who supported unrestricted trade and free international competition. What did he say? Sir, there has to be a free movement of goods and services. There should be no restrictions on exchange of goods and services. Sir, in this terms, absolute cost advantage is determined of mutually benefiting international trade. Sir, the trade has to be mutually beneficial. Sir, both the countries has to gain here. It is not like only one nation is going to gain, another country is going to lose. Sir, the absolute cost advantage theory puts out that the country will specialize in the production of one single commodity and export that commodity, and they will have an absolute cost advantage. They will have an absolute cost advantage. Sir, if at all we want to express in terms of a numerical, sir, see here, sir, this is always calculated in terms of labor hours. In terms of labor hours. Now, sir, USA is taking 10 labor hours to produce rice. India is taking 2. Sir, wheat production, USA is taking 5 labor hours. India is taking 20 labor hours. Now, labor hours, dash the better. Lower will be the better. Superb. Now compare it to USA and India, which has a lower labor hours required to produce a rice. Sir, India only 2 labor hours. Sir, in terms of wheat productivity, sir, USA. So we have a competitive advantage. That is, India has got a competitive advantage or absolute advantage. Absolute advantage. Now we are speaking about absolute advantage theory. Sir, absolute advantage in production of rice. Sir, USA has got absolute production in terms of wheat. So India will produce more of rice and they will export rice and they will import wheat from USA. USA is going to produce more and more of wheat and they are going to export wheat and import rice. Now, this was your absolute advantage theory. Now, let me come to the second one, comparative advantage theory. Sir, who developed the comparative advantage theory? David Ricardo. Sir, in the year 1817, in his famous book by name, Principles of Political Economics and Taxation, Principles of Political Economics and Taxation, he specified about this comparative advantage theory. Now, let me repeat it once again. So David Ricardo was the person who introduced this comparative advantage theory. In which year, sir? 1817. Sir, what was the book written by him? Sir, Principle of Political Economy and Taxation. Now, sir, what does this comparative advantage theory will speak? Have a look in your theoretical part. Now, sir, the law of comparative advantage states that even if one single nation is less efficient than other nation, arthat, in production of both the commodity, this nation is less efficient compared to the other nation. Sir, in our example, you can see here there is a table. Sir, India has got an absolute advantage either in terms of production of rice or production of wheat. Now, how is mutually benefiting trade is possible? By having a comparative advantage in terms of an opportunity cost or in terms of a ratio. Now, have a look here. Sir, in production of all the commodity, there is still scope for mutually benefiting trade. Sir, how? The first nation should specialize in the production and export of a commodity in which absolute disadvantage is smaller. Sir, that is lesser. Absolute disadvantage is lesser, and import the commodity in which the absolute disadvantage is greater. Sir, I said you while comparing with absolute advantage theory. Sir, absolute advantage, absolute disadvantage. When we have advantage, greater will be the better. When we have disadvantage, lesser will be the better. Sir, whenever I say advantage, absolute advantage, that is also comparative advantage. Sir, when we say absolute disadvantage, sir, it is also nothing but comparative disadvantages here. Sir, higher, lower. That is where we need to consider it now. Have a look here. The same to same thing is given here. Sir, we have taken out a ratio. Sir, in terms of rice productivity, 5:1. In terms of wheat productivity, 4:1. Sir, in terms of ratio, higher is going to be the better thing. Now, sir, later on we discussed that opportunity cost element. So, who was the person who discovered this opportunity cost element? Sir, Heberler. Sir, Eberler was a person who introduced this opportunity cost element. Sir, opportunity cost of a commodity is the number of units. Number of units other commodity has been foregone as a result of producing one single unit of a selected commodity. Now, if I select a rice, how many units of wheat that I am foregoing? If I select wheat, how many units of rice that I am foregoing? Sir, opportunity cost has to be only and only within the nation. It should not be internations. It should only be within the nation when we are calculating. So what is the formula of opportunity cost? The opportunity cost is equals to selected commodity divided by other commodity. I can also say this other commodity as sacrificed commodity. Yes, boss. Now, sir, this was your examination question which was asked in terms of this comparative advantage theory, and no doubt this is the most easiest question. This question was asked in November 2018 exam, that is for 3 marks. Now remember one thing, sir, even though when we are learning in terms of a theoretical part, even though if the answer is for pages together, nothing to worry about it. So what is the marks that you are going to give, or let me say ICI is going to give every single question. The theory part maximum it is for 2 marks or 3 marks. Sir, for 2 marks and 3 marks, you need not to write pages together. Sir, directly hit with a technical point. Sir, if they're asking for mercantile view, sir, mercantile view is a zero sum game. Sir, wherein one country gains, another country loses. Sir, in mercantile trade, there is no imports at all, sir. It is only and only export. Why? In order to earn more of specie, which is nothing but revenue to the government. Finished. Sir, absolute advantage theory, so developed by Adam Smith, wherein mutually benefiting trade is possible. That is, he was the first person to say that mutually benefiting trade is possible. That is not a zero sum game. Sir, how? In whichever nation it has a more competitive advantage in terms of production of a commodity with a lesser number of labor hours. That is better. Sir, mean directly hit with the points. Do not write it in a paragraph wise. Always write it in a point wise. And even when you are having a practical problems like this, first understand what you need to calculate it. Now, have a look for the particular question. So the table gives the table given below shows the number of labor hours required to produce sugar and rice in two nations, country X and country Y. Sir, what is it? They have given the number of labor hours required to produce one single unit. To produce one single unit. Now, boss, see there, in order to produce one single unit of sugar, in country X, they need 2 labor hours. In country Y, they need 5 labor hours. Sir, in order to produce one single unit of rice, in country X, they need 4 labor hours. In country Y, they need 2.5 labor hours. Now, what are we going to identify? Sir, compute the productivity of labor in both the countries. Productivity of labor is nothing but output of labor. Sir, for every single hour's work, sir, they have only given the values for one single unit. Now, don't you think, sir, suppose if I take, sir, country X sugar productivity. Now, country X. Now, sir, sugar. Sir, one single unit of sugar is produced by 2 labors. That is for one single hour. Assuming, don't you think, sir, every single labor is contributing 0.5 units of sugar in one single hour? If I take the same for rice, sir, in order to produce one single unit of rice, what is the number of labor hours required? 4 labor hours. Sir, 1 divided by 4, sir, it is 0.25. Acceptable. Superb, sir. If I take the same thing for the country Y, sir, for the country Y, sir, in terms of sugar, sir, in order to produce one single unit of sugar, how many labor hours is needed? 5 labor hours, sir. Can I say it has 0.2? Now, if I take the same in terms of rice productivity, sir, for one single unit, it is 2.5 labor hours. So can I say it has 0.4? Superb. Sir, now the very first question, sir, what is the productivity of a labor? Sir, in terms of country X for sugar, what is the productivity of labor? 0.5. In country Y, what is the productivity of sugar? 0.2. Sir, in terms of country Y, what is the productivity of rice? 0.25. Sir, in terms of country Y, productivity of rice? 0.4. Sir, this is going to be the answer for the very first sub question. Sir, compute the productivity of a labor in both the countries in respect to both the commodity. Now, sir, I can represent in form of a theoretical wise like this, or directly I can represent in form of a table. Now, leave about the first question. Second end question, by just reading it, you can answer it properly. See here, which country has got an absolute advantage in production of sugar? Sir, they have given number of labor hours. Number of labor hours, dash the better, higher or lower? Lower the better. Sir, in terms of sugar productivity, sir, 2 labor hours for country X and 5 labor hours for country Y. So which one is better? Sir, country X is better for productivity of sugar. Next, sir, which country has an absolute advantage in production of rice? Sir, in country X for rice productivity 4 labor hours. Sir, in country Y 2.5. Which one is having lesser? Sir, 2.5. Sir, that is country Y has an absolute advantage in production of rice. Country X has an absolute advantage in production of sugar. So this is what we have calculated, the productivity of a labor for both the commodity. Sir, just within 3 minutes you can solve this and you can get how many marks? 3 marks. So whenever you get a practical problem, that is always a bonus to you. So never leave a practical problem whenever, be it in chapter 1, be it in chapter 2, be it in chapter 3, or be it in chapter 4, because practical problems are always a bonus marks to you. So out of your 40 marks paper, you will get 16 marks for a practical, and hardly was another remaining out of 40. If you remove 16, what is the remaining? 24. Only 24 marks you need to write a theory. So it becomes even more easier. Was, let us go further. We have calculated comparative advantage theories problem now. Sir, we have done with mercantile view. So we have done with absolute theory. Sir, we have done with competitive advantage or comparative advantage theory. Now, remember, sir, be it absolute advantage theory, or a comparative advantage theory, it was taking labor as an important factor of production by comparing the labor hours we used to decide. But now the next one, the very fourth theory, is called as Hexa-Hollen theory, that is also called as HO theory. Sir, the next one was Hexa and Hollen theory, that is also called as HO theory. Now, was important point to be remembered in HO theory is, sir, it concentrates on both, sir, that is labor as well as capital, labor as well as capital. Sir, in absolute advantage and comparative advantage theory, sir, we considered only and only labor as a most important factor of production. But now in HO theory, we are considering labor as well as capital both put together as the most important point. Now, sir, remember this HO theory is extension of internal trade. Sir, whatever we conduct an internal trade, the extension is called as an international trade, is what Hexa and Hollen theory is speaking about. Sir, Hexa and Hollen theory, it is also called as modern theory of trade. It is also called as modern theory of trade, and it is also called as factor endowment theory. It is also called as factor endowment theory. Sir, this factor endowment represents labor and capital. Labor and capital. So till now, in absolute advantage theory or comparative advantage theory, we always took a decision based on number of laborers. Sir, the lower used to better. But now we are going to take a decision based on money cost of production. Sir, what is the cost incurred to produce this commodity? Always and always lower will be the better. Now, this HO theory is going to state only one important concept, stating that, sir, in whichever resources the nation is having abundance, they need to concentrate in production of those commodity. For example, let me take a comparison of India and USA. Sir, in India, we have a very high amount of a labor power which is having in India. Sir, superb, sir. Yes, sir. In USA, sir, we have more of capital intensive, sir. Sir, USA is having more of capital intensive goods. Sir, that is capital is more. Sir, India is having more of labor. So, labor is abundance in India. Sir, capital is abundance in USA. So, we need to produce in which type of nature of good we have a abundance, sir. That is, in India, labor intensive is more. So, we produce more of labor intensive technology goods. Sir, in USA, they have capital more. So, they concentrate more on capital intensive good. Now, sir, in India, because of a high enrich of labor, even the cost for a labor is not that high. Whenever it is available, the cost will not be high. Sir, whichever we have a scarcity, whichever we are lacking with, sir, those elements will always be higher, or a cost effectiveness will be more. Sir, in India, capital is considered as very costly. Sir, in USA, labor is considered as very costly because they don't have enough labor supply. Sir, they don't have an appropriate labor force to work over there. So, what we do according to HO theory, now in order to have a mutual balance between these two nations, was we are going to, let me say, send more and more of labors to USA, and we receive more and more of capital from USA. In by doing so, we get a factor price equalization theorem. Factor price equalization theorem, sir, it is nothing but, in order to have this equilibrium between both the nations, sir, India is capital surplus or labor surplus? Labor surplus. Sir, USA is capital surplus. Sir, in order to make it more stabilized and price also to stabilize, now we provide more and more of labor to USA, and USA is going to provide more and more of capital to India. Sir, capital intensive goods will be imported from USA, labor intensive goods will be exported from India. This is what my HO theory is speaking about. Remember, HO theory, 3 important points, sir. Now we are considering labor as well as capital as a most important factor of production. Remember, HO theory is also called as factor endowment theory or a modern theory of trade. Sir, we concentrate more on money cost of production rather than number of labor hours required. Now, in order to have a factor price equalization theorem, sir, we provide more and more of labor to a capital rich country, and we receive capital from a capital rich country to India. That is, sir, in India labor power is more, that is labor surplus is more, capital surplus is less. So we receive more of capital and we provide more of labor, by which even the price of labor and capital is going to be equalized, and even the mutually benefiting trade is also going to be possible. This is what my HO theory is going to state. Have a look here. Sir, in terms of a HO theory, sir, it is also called as modern theory of trade or factor endowment theory. Sir, what is this modern theory or factor endowment theory? Sir, wherein factor endowment will speak about labor and capital intensive both. Sir, it is just an extension of internal trade. Sir, which is Heckscher-Holland theory, international trade is just an extension of inter-regional trade. Sir, the reason for international trade pattern is factor endowment, that is labor as well as capital. Sir, it focuses on money cost of production rather than number of labor hours required. Sir, these are the three technical points you need to remember in HO theory. A country should concentrate in production of a commodity that required a particular resources which the country has in abundance. In which resources we are in abundant, we produce only those type of goods and services. So it will be an advantage for the nation. Now, sir, comparing India and USA, sir, India is a labor rich and capital poor. Sir, USA is a capital rich and labor poor. So India should produce and export labor intensive good. USA should produce and export capital intensive good. Sir, production mobility will lead to factor mobility. Ultimately, the price of factors of production will be equalized in India and USA. That is by sending more of labor, receiving more of capital. So it becomes equalization. As a result of equalization of capital and labor intensive, price of factors of production will be equalized in both the country. Hence, it is also called as factor price equalization theorem. Factor price equalization theorem. Sir, HO theory is applicable for both. It is for inter-regional trade as well as international trade. So, sir, 4 important theories have been done. Sir, theory number 1, mercantile view. Theory number 2, absolute advantage theory. So theory number 3, comparative advantage theory. So theory number 4, HO theory, Heckscher and Holland theory. Sir, the 5th one is called as new trade theory. 5th one is called as new trade theory, sir, in which the same commodity is going to be exported as well as imported. Sir, one single same commodity. Sir, I can give an example as cell phone. Sir, computer spare parts. Sir, be it any life-saving drugs. Sir, be it any agricultural outputs like rice, wheat. Sir, even we produce and we export it. And we also import the same commodity. Sir, why, sir? There are 2 important reasons. How many important reasons? 2 important. Sir, reason number 1. Sir, is reason number 1, economies of scale. Economies of scale. What do you mean by economies of scale? Sir, we are producing in larger number of quantities in order to have a cost benefit. That is, sir, whenever my average cost will be less, at the maximum level of output. Sir, we are producing at maximum level of output. We need to sell this commodity. So we have produced a more and more number of units. So I'm exporting. Sir, because of economies of scale, it will happen. Or because of bandwagon effect, or we also call it as a network effect. Bandwagon effect or network effect. Sir, what is this bandwagon or network effect? Sir, prestigious goods which has more demand. For example, Apple cell phones. Sir, Apple commodity, it is considered as the most famous commodities in across the globe wherein people will demand it. Sir, because of this bandwagon effect, because of more of popularity, we also import the same commodity. Sir, we might be the producers of cell phones, sir. We ourselves is producing and we ourselves are exporting the cell phones to other nations. Still, we are also importing the same cell phones from other nation because of bandwagon effect. Sir, why are we exporting the same commodity? Because of economies of scale. I am producing it at a very large number of units. I need to sell it, so I am exporting more. The same commodity is also imported. Why? Because of bandwagon effect. So the last theory was quite simple and it was very easy. Sir, new theory of trade wherein same commodity is exported as well as imported. So for the 5 important theories of my international trade, the first one, mercantile view, wherein we concentrate only on export, no imports, and mutually beneficial. Is it there? No, sir. It is a zero-sum game. Only one country gains, another country loses. Second one, sir, who propounded? Adam Smith. That is absolute advantage theory, wherein he said zero-sum game is not possible, wherein both the country will be beneficial. Sir, whichever nation has the very least number of labor hours required in a production, we produce that commodity and we export. Whichever we has a more number of labor hours in production wise, We import it from the nation which has got a less number of labor hours in production of the same. We consider only labor as an important factor of production in absolute advantage. Sir, comparative advantage. Sir, whenever a nation has got absolute advantage in production of both the commodity and production of all the commodity, and another nation has got absolute disadvantage, still mutually benefiting international trade is possible by comparing between the two nations in order of opportunity cost element. Sir, opportunity cost lower will be the better. Sir, whichever nation has got higher absolute advantage or lower opportunity cost in terms of productivity, they will produce a commodity. Sir, whichever nation has got lower absolute disadvantage, USA in terms of wheat productivity, sir, lower absolute disadvantage. Sir, India rice, higher absolute advantage, we will produce this commodity and we will export it or import it accordingly. That is mutually beneficial trade is possible. Sir, HO theory was concentrating both labor as well as capital, so we call it as a factor endowment theory. Sir, in HO theory, for us money cost of production is important rather than labor hours. Sir, my HO theory will always speak about whichever resources you have an abundance in your nation, kindly produce those commodity and export it. And whichever commodity you don't have an abundance, you kindly import that, and we need to have an equalization theorem between capital and labor. That was HO theory. The last one is new trade theory, wherein we export and import same commodity because of two important reasons: economies of scale and bandwagon effect, and it is also called as network effect. Did you understood the 5 important theories of international trade? Now, advantages and disadvantages of international trade. Assuming, sir, I left out to study this point, advantages and disadvantages. Still, by understanding this 5 important theory, we can list out some advantage and disadvantage. Sir, suppose as a layman, what are the advantages of international trade and disadvantages? Sir, advantages of international trade. Sir, whenever we sell more and more of commodity, that is we are exporting more, we receive foreign exchange. Sir, my nation's foreign exchange reserves will increase. Sir, I will also get a wider market. Sir, it is not only a political boundary. Sir, even the beyond a political boundary, I'm getting a market acceptable. Sir, now I'm also getting an opportunity for employment. Sir, in order to produce more, that is in order to export more and more number of units, I should also produce more. First I should meet the demand of my domestic, then only I can export it. Sir, I need to produce more. Even employment opportunity is increasing. Sir, whenever you are producing more, even the GDP of a nation will increase. The 2 important points is done. Sir, third and another most important point. Sir, I will also get access to other nations market, and I can also get the technology from other particular nations. I will get to know, I can import it. Sir, when I'm importing goods and services, my customers in my nation will also get a wide choice. Sir, and till date, I never allowed, let me say, assuming I have never allowed for imports, only my domestic players were operating, there was no appropriate competition. But now, when other nations commodity goods and services also entering my nation, there will be a competition. Sir, till then only domestic players were operating, but now there is a competition from international players too, and automatically customers get wide choice. Sir, even without even studying it, few points it is easier. Sir, even if they're asking for 3 marks, even if you just write 3 advantages, 3 disadvantages, you will get entire 3 marks. Sir, it is easier. Now, sir, okay, what are the disadvantages? Okay, now you spoke about 5 important advantages of international trade, sir, without even seeing the material. Sir, any other 5 important disadvantages? Sir, whenever I'm exporting more and more, okay, I received money. Suppose if I'm importing more and more, more and more, don't you think now I need to pay the foreign exchange reserves to them? Sir, that is my nation foreign exchange reserves is going to deplete. Sir, whenever I am allowing the foreign goods into my nation, don't you think my domestic nation, that is my domestic industries, are also getting affected? Acceptable? Sir, whenever we are allowing more of international trade, that is dependency on other nation will be higher. 3 points, sir. Simple. So remember, even if you are just using your common sense, even if you have not studied the topic, you can still answer it. But you should first understand what is the logic behind it. Only if you are knowing with the concept appropriately, it becomes easier. Remember, economics is always a scoring paper. Because it will give even more boost along with an FM. Now, let us see what are the advantages and disadvantages. Now, sir, first we will see the benefits. Sir, specialization. Sir, already I have abundant resources. I can produce it with less number of laborers. That is my specialization. I will specialize it in even more. I will export it more and more. Sir, effective use of resources. Sir, because of international trade, I need more and more of resources. Sir, I should also need it for future generations too. So I will use those resources effectively. Sir, high level of competition will be there. Sir, both domestic and international players will be operating here. Sir, because of international trade, customers get wide choice. And whenever there is a competition, obviously, we always try to lessen the prices or lower the prices to attract customers. Sir, economies of scale, that is productivity will be in terms of maximum. Sir, sharing of technology is possible. Sir, division of labor will happen, effective, ineffective, what to be where, which labor to be used, which labor to be used in which particular industry. Sir, better international relationship will occur whenever we are indulging in international trade between many other different nations. Sir, it is a precursor to FDI, sir. That is, whenever we are exporting more and more, sir, we also can expect FDI funds to India. Or let me say, chalo, this country is going to impose more of barriers, let me say, in order to import the commodity. Sir, I'm exporting, that nation is charging more tariff. Let me go there itself and produce it. Sir, it earns foreign exchange reserves. Sir, it also increases the employment and also contributes for the GDP. Sir, we get access to new materials and new resources or new market in order to sell our goods and services. Market productivities will also be more. So these are the list of advantages. You need not to remember all. At least if you can remember 4 or 5, that will be great. Now, sir, let me come to the cost. That is disadvantages. Now, sir, dependency on another nation will be higher. If at all I'm dependent on other nation goods and services, I'm importing more and more. My dependency will be there, sir, which leads to political turmoils, instability in political parties, or might be between the nation. Political turmoil might happen as of now. How India and China, there is a dispute between us now. Sir, strategic importance for certain industries like telecom and defense, sir. In every particular place we cannot have an international trade. Whenever I am allowing any other nation person to come and operate in India, especially in terms of telecommunication and defense, I should have more of restrictions, sir, because these people might dominate over than my domestic people. Sir, scarcity of goods in domestic nation due to excess exports. Sir, if you are concentrating only and only on export, first I should meet my domestic demand, then only I should meet over there. But now I'm least bothered about my domestic nation. I'm only exporting more and more. It obviously creates a scarcity, and which leads to an inflation, because of which even the essential commodities price is going to increase. Might be petrol, might be diesel, might be life-saving drugs. These prices will increase. Whenever there is an inflation, all the essential commodities price will also increase. Now, sir, infant industries, that is in my own domestic territory, now startups, these people will be suffering if I allow more of commodities from outside to my domestic nation. Sir, depletion of foreign exchange reserves because of more of imports. I need to pay them. Sir, dumping. This is another important concept wherein it is affecting the international trade. Sir, what happens? A country is like China. They will produce in very excess. Sir, what they do? Sir, in order to sell it, they will dump it to some other nation at a very lesser price. That is, I can say, even below their average cost. What happens? Assuming, sir, I'm a domestic player. Sir, I am producing goods and services. Now, even China has also sent the goods to India, wherein my domestic products price is more, China's products price is less. Now, you tell me as a customer, which one will you purchase? Sir, Chinese product, less price, sir. Compare it to our domestic product is more price, sir. We Indians are very super people. We think about a quality later. First, sir, when I'm going to shop any commodity shopping, or I want to purchase a dress, my mentality, sir, first, even though if I like that commodity, I don't go to a trial room, I wear it. First, I will see the price. Oh, okay, 500 rupees. Okay, fine. Suppose if just 10 is at 5,000, hey, get lost. We always look out for a price. This is another advantage which China is making. They are dumping their commodity. They are producing in excess. In order to sell it, they are dumping that. Dumping is nothing but unnecessary forcing that commodity inside any other nation because of excess production. Because of excess production, there is a possibility that because of dumping, they are going to sell their product in my nation for a lesser price. What happens? My domestic producers, we cannot bear it. So later they will evacuate from industry. Then later this Chinese product will raise their price. In order to stop that, we have got additional duties to be charged on them. We will discuss in the next topics. Boss, now dumping is a one important disadvantage of an international trade. Remember, this is one of the technical point. And sir, quick transmission of trade cycle, sir, business cycle. Sir, there will be a very quick transmission. All the 4 stages is going to happen very quickly. Sir, revival in risk and trade associations due to government policies. Sir, because of my international trade policies, changing in policies, there will be a rivalry between the nation. Why did you increase? We've had an agreement, you should not increase it. You will say, you're dumping the commodity, I will increase. Obviously, there will be instability between the nation. So these are the disadvantages. So boss, it is very quite simple. Even if you can remember 5 advantage, 5 disadvantage, even without seeing that, we can come out with at least 3 points. Another two important technical points to be remembered. Sir, okay, what are the technical points that is in the disadvantage? Sir, especially this dumping is a technical point. Sir, dependency is a technical point. Sir, political turmoil is a technical point. Sir, because of exporting more and more, I cannot meet the demand in domestic nation, which leads to inflation. Sir, this is the technical point, important point. Sir, whenever I'm importing more and more, my foreign exchange reserve, sir, this is a technical point. Sir, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 technical points. Sir, when I come to the advantages, sir, technical point. Sir, high level of competition, sir. Sir, because of which consumers have wide range of choice, sir. Sir, division of labor, sir. Sir, precursor to FDI, sir. GDP and employment opportunity, sir. These are the important technical points which you can remember. It is just the easiest thing wherein you can aram se remember it.